Welcome back to Three Man Meta. My name's Danny, and today we're talking Legacy of the Fringe. I just had a look at my second screen in case I forgot the title of it then, which is the first FFG article for Star Wars Destiny. We had in almost a month, and it's packed full of yellow spoilers. So let's jump straight in. We start with Greedo. 7 health, 1 range, 2 indirect, 1 disrupt, 7 for single, 11 for elite with ability. Before this character is defeated, you can roll any number of his character die into the pool and resolve them in any order of your choice. I feel like his elite version for 4 extra points just to gain that die. His die is good, 50% damage size, but he is also rolling in at 2 blanks. And the disrupt is a really awkward side with stuff like Imperial Inspection. Gone to the dust, dead. It's gone. Let's not even worry about that card anymore. I feel like disrupt is especially 1 disrupt is just so unimpactful, and the fact that he doesn't have a resource side, it makes him really hard to kind of build your team with him in. But at the single cost for 7 points, giving you access to all of the villain yellow cards, he doesn't like you, friends in low places, even electroshocks or all these kind of even all these spot yellow cards, people are unlikely to go for Greedo first because he's always going to do that damage. He is easy to kill, and I feel like you'll probably see him more of a replacement to Stormtrooper in some decks because just 7 points is just such a low entry level. There could be some nice 5 dice decks that starts with Greedo, but I think most of the time you're going to see Balatic. He's got more health, arguably a better die. I mean, I know he's got plus damage, and where this one is all black sides, and he's got 3 black damage sides. But Balor's got the focus. He's got the ability to stand back up when you kill a character, which lets you roll in a lot more than just 2 dice. It allows you to roll in up to 5 dice sometimes. So I feel like his ability, although you don't get to resolve it instantly, is still better. So you'll probably just see Greedo as a nice 7-point slot in to gain access to villain yellow. Next up, we've got Krennic, but he's dead old, so we're not going to talk about Krennic. He's probably still awful, even if you do pair him with Greedo. Bib Fortuna is Jabba's right-hand man. He is 9 health, 1 focus, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, 2 special, 9/12 for elite, and the special is roll a character die on one of your other characters into your pool. So a lot of people are saying, oh, this is really good with like Vader or new Palpatine, or any big 20-point character. You can slot Bib in at the 9-point level and go, well, I was rolling an extra Vader dice and I'm going to hit 3 damage and it's going to be great. Yeah, that is possible. I'm not a big fan of old Vader or Palpatine's better, but especially any characters with just a 2 damage and a 3 damage side. I just feel they're just not reliable enough to pump out any reasonable damage. I've seen some people go, well, you could play Elite Bib, Elite Phasma, new Phasma that is. So you've got all the special synergy. But even then, you're rocking in at, 26 points? So that leaves you 4 points left to play a 3-point plot, which gets you 1 extra money. And as soon as that main character dies, Bib is not going to do anything for you. His specials turn to blanks. It is one of your character dies, so you could roll in an already resolved Bib Fortuna die. That doesn't seem great, though. There are going to be some great thematic decks with them in. I feel like 1 dice Bib, 1 dice Jabba, 1 dice Gamorrean. It'll be fun. I doubt we'll see Bib in anything really competitive. Just because he can't hold his own and he doesn't really do much after his main body's dead. There might be some 3 character decks that I've overlooked, but it's good to see him, but I'm not excited, and I probably won't be playing him at the start of Legacies when it drops. There's the article saying, you're playing with old Vader, it's going to be great. It's probably not going to be great. Dr. Aphra, we've seen before. Archangel. So it's a 2-point support vehicle, 1 range, 2 indirect, 1 shield, 2 shields for a resource and a resource. After you activate this support, activate up to 2 other supports in any order of your choice, and this is a villain only card. It's good. It's, 2-point vehicles are good. It's got reasonable damage sides. Shields aren't as good as Houndstooth. It's got a resource side, which is always going to be useful in paying for things. If you can get this out early enough in a vehicle deck, it could give you the speed. But when you build a vehicle deck, you already know that you're going to go for this long game, and activating 2 other supports at the same time, while good, I feel just leaves you more open to removal, or the fact that you can't then resolve afterwards. Just something like this could be really good with like partnerships. So you can roll out a character, roll out Archangel, then roll out 2 other supports, pay an extra resource, and then resolve a load of range damage. Now that could be really good for kind of these big swingy power plays. But on its own, just rolling out and activating some other stuff, it's a bit mediocre. But with partnership or lead by example, something that lets you cheat out an activation of a support, this is going to be great. But we haven't really seen vehicle decks rise to the esteem that we all thought they would before Empire at War. So next up, we've got In Pursuit. Play only if an opponent activated 1 or more characters during their last turn this round. Activate any number of your yellow characters in any order of your choice. Villain only card, costs 0 resources. So this is like squad tactics, but for yellow only. But it can activate non-uniques as well as uniques. So if you've got a full yellow villain deck, this could be good in just getting your dice out into the pool. But generally what I find with cards like this is that you roll out really fast and it's all really good, but first off, you're going to have to be playing majority mono yellow, or in a 3-character suite, at least 2 of the characters yellow for this card to be worth it. You also have the stipulation that your opponent has to have activated 1 of their characters during the last round. This is very, very situational for not an overly powerful effect, especially with monocolored decks in the current meta with new Kylo. As soon as what's it called? The draft set. Rebel? No, it's not Rebels. Rivals. Before Rivals drops and we get a new Anakin to team up with him and we can go to Emo Kids 2.0, you're just going to see the real death of monocolored decks that we have started to see a little bit in this meta, but not outrageously. So In Pursuit, too situational. It could be really good if you've got a lot of yellow character, at least a 3 or 4 character yellow lineup. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm not sold. Fast Hands is really big in this image. I don't mean as a card. It's fine. Play it Nora saying it will do wonders for you. No Good to Me Dead. Heal up to 2 damage from an opponent's character. Gain resources equal to the amount of damage you just healed. So it's more yellow villain resource generation. It costs 0 resources itself, but you are having to heal your opponent. So hero, get more healing in your opponent's deck, and it gains your resources. There are so many cards that allow you to gain resources for free now, especially things like Truce, even in Rage when you're playing blue villain. I can't think of a real way that I'd like to see this card being played. Healing 2 could be very huge. Just to gain 2 resources that you're going to play a weapon with and then deal 2 damage with, and over the course of like the game, if you heal 2 damage to play a gun on one of your characters, and then that gun has to deal 2 damage to pay for itself, and then any additional damage on top of that is all gravy. But you'll have to play this card early enough, get your weapon down early enough, or an event that's impactful enough. If you go, I'm going to heal your character for 2, that gives me 2 resources, that lets me play a Endless Ranks or a Rise Again. okay, absolutely value, because you're gaining back 5 or 7 or 10 health for the 2. So in those senses, it will be really good, but that's not going to happen very often, I don't think. And you also have to, your opponents has to be damaged for this to actually take effect. So it's not like this is going to be a really, quick turn 1 kind of play. You're going to see, you only want to see this later in the game, but then you're not going to want to heal a character that you could almost kill. So I think it'll be tight to find the spot to play it correctly, and then for there to be enough time in the game left for that resource boost to be really impactful. Happy to be proven wrong though. It's nice to have more cards that can generate your resources, but I feel like we have better ones already. I'd rather play logistics over this. This article's obviously saying play it with Crime Lord. Yeah, Crime Lord, and gain it healing 2 to then Crime Lord someone is almost irrelevant downside. So yeah, that could be good, but Crime Lord decks generally don't deal any damage to heal to gain the resources to deal the Crime Lord. So moving on, we got Saul Guerrero, our first hero card of the day. So he's got 11 health, 2 indirect, 3 indirect, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, and a special. His special is discard a random card from your opponent's hand, then deal damage indirectly to an opponent equal to its cost. He is 12 for single, 16 for elite. He is an elite hero character. The fact that he's got 2 main damage sides pits me off, but then obviously his special side is also a damage side. So if we look at this, he's got 50% damage sides. He's got the disrupt, which is probably one of the weaker sides in the game. He's got the money side, so that's all good. His special is just original Kylo's, but on steroids a bit. It's a random card. You then deal the damage to him, but as indirect. And you get to discard the card rather than it going back into your opponent's hand. Excuse me. So it's less scary in a way that Kylo's, because no, I'm gonna backpedal that. So it's straight up better than Kylo's special. Having the 3 damage sides for 16 points, and the special is going to deal between 0 and 2 damage on average. Puts him in the same kind of realm as Aura Singh, who, let me just check, Aura Singh is how many points? Aura Singh is 18 points elite, so you're getting 2 points less, and you don't have to discard down, and you're dealing more roughly damage, but it's all indirect, and we're yet to see how good indirect damage is going to be in the meta. I'm not entirely sold on indirect damage yet. I feel smart players are really going to, assign your damage correctly. It's going to make it really difficult to actually kill anyone. So you're going to need, a second character who can really kind of just deal out some damage so you can actually get some hits through. So if we have a look at the announced 14-point pairings that we could pit with Saul to see what damage we can do, we've got Mon Mothma, nope. We've got New Luke, which spend 2 resources to increase one of his damage sides up by 2, so he can do anywhere between 3 and 4 damage. Could be really good. You got Katsuono from Rivals. She's got 2 melee, 2 ranged. And she's got the redeploy. I would imagine most of the time people are going to probably go for Saul in this case, because he can dish out. He has potential of dishing out so much damage that he's probably going to be the main threat. You've got New Han. He's got 2 damage sides. You've got Palpatine, Padme, who you're not going to see. You have got Akbar, which gives you access to red. He doesn't necessarily deal a lot of damage himself, and without any real discard, his ability is a bit unimpactful. Kind of looking down, you've got Kanan, but I'd rather play Luke over Kanan. You've got new Anakin, but again, I feel Luke's 50% damage sides will be better. So you'll probably see Saul with Luke. And I just don't know if that's going to be good enough. Obviously, you can run 2 7-cost characters with him. So you could run an Ezra, a rookie pilot, or a character later on from the set, which we're going to talk about, which will be Jar Jar. So there are options, but I'm not sold on Saul. I really need to see how good indirect damage is going to be before I could give a strong opinion about how great Saul Guerrero is going to be. Speaking of 7-point characters, we've got Jar Jar Binks, a clumsy outcast, 7 health, 1 indirect, 1 disrupt, 1 discard, 1 shield, 1 resource, 7 points single, 9 points elite, which are first ever 9-point characters, pretty exciting. Any player may take an action to force you to activate this character. After you activate this character, reroll all dice showing a symbol not showing on this character dice. So you roll them out, you hit your indirect and your discard, you have to reroll all dice that aren't showing the indirect or the discard. So he's basically a sound the alarm on all types of die face on a stick. He also, at 9 points elite, allows you to go Elite Jar Jar, Elite Maz, Elite Ezra, which is a 6 dice start. How good that deck's going to be? Probably not very good at all, but you've got to mention these things. I feel, although the amount of hate Jar Jar gets from fans, I feel like Jar Jar could be good. Being able to just soft reroll a lot of your opponent's dice, and the fact that his dice are so cheap, you get 2 yellow dice for 9 points. So things like Negotiate, Lost Cat and Mouse, just all these removal that allow you to remove one of your character dice to then do outstanding things. Double Cross. They're all the ones that are coming to my mind at the moment. Are really good to use on Jar Jar's dice because on their own they're not that great. He obviously can still make you money for 9 points to get 2 resources is also really strong. The 1 indirect damage is really weak. Like damage wise, he is really weak. But as a utility to gain access to Hero Yellow for 7 or just to have those 2 extra dice floating around, so you can run all this really good yellow hero removal that requires you to remove a character die. And then still have 21 points left to really build your team out. It's really good. A lot of people are like, oh, Jar Jar, he might be good. You will see him competitively in a list. I think he having 2 dice for 9. When his dice sides aren't awful, they're a bit all over the place, but being able to reroll melee and range guaranteed every time you roll them out will be really good. And even if your opponent goes, oh no, I want you to roll out Jar Jar first, so you don't wreck me with his ability, then he's used his action to roll out your character that puts you ahead. So say that's the first action of the round and he claimed last round, you've rolled out Jar Jar on his action, which then gives you all this removal to use without even having to roll that in. So you can still play your upgrade on your main characters or do whatever it is you need to do you would normally have done in your turn. And when your opponent eventually then rolls out, you can be like, okay, and I'll play Negotiate to remove both of those character die. He's really interesting design and just really fascinating to play with, and the intricacies that he's going to have with existing decks and the new decks that are going to come out is going to be great. You're going to see a lot of Jar Jar. So let's see those fan arts. I want to see Jar Jar's bones over a sandy desert, please. Runaway Bumbers. So it's 2 indirect, 3 indirect, cost 3. Power action, you may spend 1 resource to roll a Runaway Bumber die into your pool, set aside after resolved or removed. So it's 50% damage size, 50% blanks, costs 3. You can power action to roll a second one into your pool. So if you get 2 of these out, you could be rolling 4 of these dice in for 2 resources additionally each turn. The issue I have with it is the 50-50 hit or miss. So you really want some focus to kind of bring this into a playable space. It could be really good with Maz to focus these into 3 indirect, but then again, we need to see how impactful indirect damage is going to be before, is just assigning 3 indirect damage, so that's probably 1 damage to 3 characters, or 2 damage to one and another to another. Like, you're never going to assign these 3 indirect damages all to one character. You're always going to be splitting it up. You're always going to be finding the best possible way to assign this damage so it doesn't cause you any damage back in the long run. It's an interesting card. I think it costs too much, and then having to pay an additional one to roll another one into the pool. It could be really good if you manage to hit 3s on all 4. That'd be great. But I don't think that's going to happen very often. And I don't think you'll see this being played at all. Explosive Tactics. Discard the top card off an opponent's deck, then deal indirect damage to an opponent equal to its cost. So you pay 2 to discard a card, and then it may deal some indirect damage based on the cost of that card. This, to quote another Destiny YouTuber, is complete trash. It's so unimpactful. If you're playing a mill deck, you don't care about a smattering of indirect damage. It's bad. I'm not even going to talk about it. Next up, we've got Hondo, our first neutral character from the Legacy set, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got 10 health, 1 focus, 2 disrupt, 1 discard, 2 specials. He's 12 points single, 15 points elite. He is a rare, and he is neutral. The special reads, deal 3 damage to an opponent's character unless that opponent gives you 1 resource. So that special is crazy strong if you can make sure you remove your opponent's resources. And he's got 2 disrupt sides, so there's a good chance this special could be dealing 3 damage. He's 15 points. If you're playing with Nupo, he would give you the consistency to chain that special. But it's whether or not you would actually have the tools in place to make sure your opponent doesn't have that resource. But even then, because he hasn't got any resource size himself, that special either reads deal 3 damage or gain a resource, which is really strong. Especially when you can start pitting second chances on him to start just drawing out the game. Obviously, the longer the game goes, the more resources you're likely to amass. But the more resources you gain, if you know that your opponent's always going to end up having quite a lot of money and he's going to be feeding you money, then you can use that to your advantage to start playing Falcons or Sonic Cannons or all this kind of crazy stuff. So I'm going to be interested in playing the Hondo Po 2 deck. I think the special chaining in that deck will be strong. I think I like it more than Ray. Just because he's got to focus on himself. It gives you access to Hero Yellow, which has much better removal than Hero Blue does. I feel like this deck will also be fairly quick, so you get to play your Duggins, you get to play your defensive positions. Really excited to see Hondo. From a villain perspective, it's tougher. There are more kind of 15-point villains. So we've got people like Bosk, bring back Bosk. Count Dooku, Ventress, New Phasma, FN, Quinlan Voss, and then Unkar Plutt. So out of those characters, you're probably going to see someone like Phasma or Old Phasma. It's tough. There's nothing that really sticks out to me in the villain side as much as Po 2 does for Hero. I'm sure there will be something that makes Hondo better, because obviously in villain you get the access to salvage stand. So if you can roll out your other character, hit a resource and salvage stand the 2 money away, then you don't have to disrupt it. Putting fast hands on Honzo to allow him to fast out the 2 disrupt, and then use Po to focus his other special to deal 3 damage is going to be really strong. So I'm looking forward to Hondo, and it'll be really interesting to see where he ends up. No, we're not going to play single dice Jin Honzo. That sounds horrendous. And we're not going to play him with Aura Sing, because that also sounds bad. Maybe single dice Honzo, Elite Aura Sing. It's more health. Who knows? I never start building decks until I see the whole set, because you just never know. So we're on to our last card now. It's Cantina Brawl. Deal 1 damage to an opponent's character, then that opponent may discard a card from their hand to repeat this effect. So you pay 1, you play Cantina Brawl, you then discard another card to deal another damage. So this fits into the I'm gonna just play cards that deal damage archetype, and I'm not gonna worry too much about what I'm gonna roll. Paying one resource and 2 cards to do 2 damage seems expensive and not that great. However, this is surprise damage that your opponent, if it becomes meta, could start really thinking about, being like, oh, what if he just Cantina Brawls me twice and I take 4 damage for 2 resources? I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think you're going to see Cantina Brawl in a lot of decks, so it could be really nice to kind of chuck in there as a bit of surprise splash damage, especially when you start playing things like Deadly and Hate and, Arm to the Teeth and... Oh, that's the other one from Awakenings. No, I don't remember. But it's very similar to Arm to the Teeth. You could be really getting onto an archetype here that if you just give it enough health, you can just constantly just roll out whatever you want. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to play Cantina Brawls, I'm going to say Lightsaber Throws, I'm going to play Hates, I'm going to No Mercies, I'm going to play all these cards that just deal direct damage, and I'm just going to kill you. So that kind of wraps up the spoiler review part of this video. I just want to give a shout out to a couple of things that us at 3Man Meta are doing at the moment. So I am hosting a weekly Twitch stream on Mondays, so starting at 7 PM GMT through to about 10 o'clock PM GMT, where I'll just be playing TTS games, people from the community, viewers. It's a way that, because we don't release our podcast weekly, just because we don't have a lot of content to speak about over this way. We don't have any championships or regionals yet. Our regionals don't start until the end of January, and most of them are in March. So it's a long wait for you'll start hearing a lot of the UK meta, which will obviously be with all these new cards, which will be very exciting. I'd much prefer to play my regionals with the new set than what we currently have. We've also recently finished our Sabine alt art. So if you'd like to get a fantastic looking Sabine alt art, you can head over to our Patreon. We've got it pinned on our Facebook page as well, if you want to just see the card, which could be very useful. A big shout out to our Patreon supporters who, do help out the show massively. It really does help us cover the costs of hosting the podcast, and, just lets us know that we're doing a good job and producing content that you guys are really enjoying. So I'm Danny from the 3Man Meta, and we'll see you next time.